The Engero Tales, Tales of the Soul. Part 2 of The Vanishing Neighbor. In a chilling flashback from Part 1, Old Man Kalemo mysteriously vanishes, leaving young Juma shaken and silently guarding the secret of what he witnessed. Juma tried to return to normal life, but the world felt different. His classmates laughed, played, and worried about exams. But he couldn't forget what he'd seen, the swirling mist, the glowing eyes, Old Man Kalemo's voice. At night he dreamed of the door. Sometimes he saw Kalemo standing in the mist, reaching out. Other times, the creatures came closer, whispering his name. One morning he woke up with dirt under his fingernails and leaves in his bed. Had he sleepwalked? Or worse, had something followed him back? Back in Kalemo's house, Juma found the diary right where he left it. But now, new pages had been added. The ink shimmered like it was alive, drawing itself into shapes, new creatures, trees that bled light, and words written in a language that hurt his head to read. One sketch showed Juma himself standing in front of the tree, only this time, the door was wide open behind him, and something large loomed just beyond the mist. Desperate for answers, Juma visited Auntie Senga, the village herbalist. She was the only adult who ever said she believed in the old ways. When he showed her the sketch, her face turned pale. "That tree was once a gate," she whispered. "Long ago, our ancestors sealed it. Kalemo must have reopened it. Foolish old man. Where did he go?" Juma asked. "Not where, what? He's between. Neither living nor gone. And now, it's watching you." That night, a figure appeared at Juma's window, tall, robed, with no face. In its hand, it held Kalemo's walking stick. The figure tapped the window once, then vanished into the darkness. The next morning, Juma found the stick leaning against his bed. Wrapped around it was a fresh page from the diary. The message was clear: the door is opening again. Juma knew he had a choice. Warn the village and risk being mocked, or go back to the tree and try to finish what Kalemo started. He packed the diary, the walking stick, and his courage. As the sun set over Nakalama, he turned toward the plantation. This time, he wasn't just going to find answers. He was going to face the realm beyond. The banana plantation was eerily quiet as Juma walked beneath the shadow of the towering trees. He gripped Old Man Kalemo's walking stick tightly, the carved wood warm in his hand despite the cool evening air. The diary was strapped to his back, pages fluttering slightly as if alive. When he reached the ancient tree, the bark was already glowing. The outline of the door pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, steady, waiting. The mist began to leak from the edges, curling around his feet. But this time, Juma didn't tremble. He stepped forward and placed the stick into a small groove near the carving he hadn't noticed before. The world beyond was unlike anything he'd imagined. Trees floated in midair, their roots dangling into glowing rivers. Stars moved beneath his feet, not above, when strange bird-like creatures sang in colors rather than sound. The air buzzed with whispers, some in languages he understood, others not. Then, a familiar voice called out. "Juma." He turned to see Old Man Kalemo standing atop a path of floating stones. But the old man looked younger, his back straight, his eyes sharp, his voice strong. "You came back," Kalemo said with a sigh. "You shouldn't have." "I had to," Juma replied. "You left something behind, you left all of us behind." Kalemo looked at him, sadness returning to his eyes. "I didn't leave. I was chosen." He explained, this realm was not a place of death, but a threshold, a space between worlds. Long ago, guardians were chosen to protect it from leaking into the real world. The door had stayed sealed for generations. Until Kalemo found the forgotten knowledge in his grandfather's journals. "I was drawn to it. I thought I could learn its secrets without paying the price," he said. "But the door doesn't just open. It chooses who stays. Juma stared at him. Then why did it let me in? Kalemo didn't answer. Suddenly, the sky above them rippled. A tear opened, and out of it poured a swarm of creatures, those same glowing-eyed beings from the diary. But now they looked agitated, frantic. The balance is shifting, Kalemo said, fear in his voice. The door opened too often. It's hungry now. Juma felt the mist rise around his ankles. A voice echoed in his mind, stay. Be calm. Belong. No. Kalemo grabbed his shoulder. You must go back. Close the door. Burn the diary. But I can help. If you stay, it will never let you go. The creatures drew closer. Kalemo reached into his robe and handed Juma a wooden amulet, carved with a symbol Juma had seen only once, in the diary's first page. This will guide you back. Follow the light. Do not stop, no matter what you hear. Juma clutched the amulet, tears brimming in his eyes. What about you? Kalemo smiled sadly. I chose this path. But you still have a choice. The mist swallowed them. Juma ran. The path crumbled behind him, the stars above dimming. Voices called to him, his mother, his friends, even himself, but he kept running. The amulet glowed hotter and hotter until it burst into light. And he fell. He landed hard on the ground at the base of the tree. Night had fallen. The tree was silent once more. The door gone. He clutched the smoldering remains of the amulet. The diary on his back had turned to ash. But in his pocket, something new, a seed. Small. Warm. Pulsing. The tree had left him a gift. Or a warning. He didn't know which yet. Days passed. Then weeks. The village of Nakilama moved on, planting, harvesting, laughing under the same sun as always. To them, Old Man Kalemo had been a whisper of the past. But Juma had changed. He no longer played as wildly or laughed as loudly. He often sat alone beneath the mango tree behind his home, turning the tiny seed over in his fingers. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. He'd tried planting it once, but nothing happened. It refused the soil. It wasn't meant for this world. He began to dream. In his sleep, he returned to that realm, floating trees, whispering winds, glowing-eyed creatures humming warnings in ancient tones. Kalemo was always watching from a distance, always silent. Sometimes smiling. Sometimes weeping. One night, the dreams changed. The mist in them grew darker, the creatures more restless. And the seed in Juma's pocket grew hot. He awoke in a cold sweat, heart racing. The air outside was unnaturally still. Then he heard it, the hum. Soft at first. Rising from the tree. The ancient tree. He raced through the banana plantations barefoot, heart thudding. When he arrived, the bark of the old tree was glowing again, but this time, it was cracking. Not opening. Breaking. And from the cracks, came the mist. Dark. Violent. Alive. Juma realized the door had not been sealed, it had been wounded. And it was trying to bleed into the real world. Clutching the seed, Juma dropped to his knees and remembered Kalemo's words, the balance is shifting. He understood then, the seed wasn't a gift. It was a key. But not to open. To heal. With trembling hands, he pressed the seed into the cracked bark. At first, nothing. Then the tree shuddered, and the ground trembled beneath him. The cracks glowed brighter, and then closed, sealing shut with a thunderous thud. The mist was sucked back in like breath into lungs. The humming stopped. The tree stood still once more. Silent. Whole. And at its base, where the seed had vanished, a tiny sprout emerged. Silver leaves glowing under the moonlight. Juma collapsed, not from exhaustion, but from peace. He had done what Kalemo could not. He had made the choice to protect, not to explore, not to chase answers, but to guard the balance between worlds. Juma never told anyone what happened. Not about the realm. Not about the seed. Not even about Kalemo. But people began to notice that the ancient tree had changed. Its leaves sparkled at dawn. Birds refused to perch on it. And once a year, on the night the door had first opened, mist would briefly gather around it, silent, still, as if remembering. Juma grew up but never left the village. He became a teacher. A storyteller. And sometimes, when the moon was full, he'd sit quietly with his own children beneath the mango tree and tell them tales of thresholds, of guardians, and of a boy who answered the call of the unknown. And chose to close the door. Final moral. Curiosity leads us to truth, but wisdom teaches us when to walk away. The end. Subscribe, like and share our channel Engero Tales, the Tales of the Soul. Don't miss an episode as new tales await you every week. Let the stories awaken your spirit and fill your soul. Watch. Share. Keep the tales alive. See you again.